There's a saying that God won't give you more than you can handle. That sounds comforting. It's nice to reflect on maybe when you're feeling overwhelmed, but the reality is Jesus never said those words. In fact, moments before he is about to be betrayed to eventually die at the hands of the Roman Empire, Jesus says, "My soul is overwhelmed to the point of death." To me, that doesn't sound like someone who is experiencing more than they could handle, right? Thankfully, the first century church planter Paul tells us that God is faithful to us, and even when we are tempted, he will always provide a way out. So maybe instead of the next time that life doesn't go the way that you want, that you feel overwhelmed, instead of getting discouraged or maybe mad at God, perhaps look for the way out that he has provided. It might not be what you want, but it might just be what you need. Run the intro. Like I said at the top of the video, God won't give you more than you can handle. It sounds nice, but it just isn't accurate. In fact, if you open the 66 documents that make up the library that Jesus followers call the Bible and you start to read it, pretty soon you'll discover that God really isn't in the business of removing things and removing people from situations where they feel overwhelmed. A fellow called Moses is asked to free a nation, an entire nation, from slavery, and he complains about a stutter. A guy called Gideon feels like he's inequipped. Jesus himself even prays for another way out. So the question then is, what's an appropriate response when we feel overwhelmed if God isn't in the business of taking away difficult situations from our lives? The first thing I'd encourage you to do is just simply spend some time with Jesus. When life is going well, it's really easy to forget about God and just kind of go about life on our own terms. But all of a sudden, when life becomes uncertain, we kind of start to lean in towards God and ask that question, where are you, God, in the midst of all of this? So spend some time with Jesus. Just simply remind yourself that Jesus isn't distant and he's not disinterested. In fact, he is more curious than ever and wants to know more than ever about what is happening in your life. The second thing I'd encourage you to do is to allow your weakness to be an opportunity for God's strength to shine through. Now, there's a moment when the first century church planter called Paul gets incredibly frustrated by what he calls a thorn in the flesh. Now, we don't know exactly what that thorn is. We don't know whether it was he couldn't see very well or he couldn't speak very well or whether it was a relationship breakup, but he gets so mad and he prays to God about it over and over and over again. He says, God, I want you to take this situation away. And then he comes to a realization where he begins to actually recognize that it's actually better for him if God didn't take what is challenging and walking through away. In fact, he says these words, he says, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." And what he means by those words is that when he was trying to be strong all the time, it really wasn't getting him anywhere. In fact, it wasn't until the point that he got to weakness where he said, I can't do this, that he actually allowed Jesus into the messiness, Jesus into the parts of his life that weren't working. And it was actually through that weakness that Jesus had an opportunity to use Paul's story for a greater purpose and to use Paul's story to point people to himself. So perhaps instead of looking to escape what you're going through at the moment, maybe God is using it to invite you to spend more time with Jesus, or as an opportunity to allow his strength to shine through in your weakness. Hey, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, give it a like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know down below. What would you like us to tackle in a future video? Coffee.